Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, December 20th, 2020, which is a really nice number. And it's also Solstice Eve. It's in the penumbra of the solstice, the time around the solstice. And we would film tomorrow, but tomorrow's a work day and we can't. So this is as close as we're able to get to filming at the actual time of the solstice while still being before the solstice. And
That's right.
that's always the assignment, is to film at the assigned time or as close to the assigned time as possible, but before the assigned time. In case you miss it, then you can get it after the assigned time. But if you wait until after, then you might miss it entirely.
That's right.
As always, the authorized souls in both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind are child souls from the even deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many search for truth rules, already given to the search for truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And we acknowledge that mostly the souls are not living by those rules, but it's really important for host lives to not get snippy, because host lives don't have legal standing any more than a house does. And if people want to knock down their house, they can knock down their house. And so it's really incumbent upon host lives to not get snippy with souls, and really to have the attitude of being in service to spirit feels good, and so everything else feels icky. So we're happy to be in service to spirit, and we do want to explain that the reason we say that child souls can come in regardless is that souls who are self-identifying as being children and young and vulnerable, they're scared. And don't be a jerk. If a child shows up looking for a safe place, let them in, and they might realize that they're able to do more than they thought they were and continue on their journey, and that's usually what happens. And if not, then we're usually able to find somebody to come pick up the child and take them where they need to be. So when we get the assignment to film, like they said, you can't seriously be intending to waste the solstice, right? And we don't want to waste anything. And the point of that is that these days that have been sacred days for eons, there's the wings of prayers of the billions who came before us that are paving the way to open portals to higher dimensions. And don't waste those open portals. And the solstice has been a prayer day for a really, really, really long time through many ancient religions, and to not waste it. And other traditions have appropriated solstice feast
That's
times.
what they're talking about.
Christianity's a good example, because Christianity, the Christ child was born during the census, the Roman census, and the Roman census occurred in the spring. So it's easy to pinpoint approximately when he was born, and it was in March.
That's right.
Not December.
No.
So, but we have to understand, somebody's talking about it, it might be Mother Mary, we have to understand what happened is that Christianity was developing as a religion inside of the context of the European ancient religions, and the European ancient religions by and large observed the solstice. And so everybody wanted to kind of also have their own feast day. And the early Christians, they felt like something was being taken away from them because they weren't participating in the solstice traditions. And so everybody who was making the decisions at the time kind of agreed, all right, it's not that important that we actually observe the actual date, just scooch it into this feast time and all is well. And also wanting to ride the portals of the prayers. And our assignment is equally to ride the portals of the prayers. So in addition to when are we filming and where are we filming and what are we filming is an important question. So we started with heading in the direction of all the questions that were not yet completely answered, and some new questions. We have 2 new questions. And so we had put them all into the bell, but it seems like we're also supposed to film on Christmas Day for the same reason, the portal of prayers. And that's pretty soon, and so we can save some of these for then. And so they said, well, just pick the most important one. And we went through a sorting process, and we took all the other questions out of the bell. They're still there, and we're going to put them back in the bell. But this is the most important question, and so we're still going to show it coming out of the bell because they were all in the bell.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that acceptable? I see the go on hand.
Yeah, okay. Ready to ask the question.
Okay.
Today's question comes from a viewer named Meg.
Hi, Meg.
And she asked the question this morning, December 20th, 2020.
Which was part of the clue. That's part of why we thought this was a good question, and also because it intersects with a really crucial inquiry in our own processes, our own assignments. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And Meg asks, how to get across the concepts that we have assignments, that our actions and inactions are recorded and graded, and that there are long-term consequences.
Bless you, Baxter.
Bless you, Baxter. And then Meg continues, how to spread responsible actions, words, and attitudes. And Meg continues, how to spread helpfulness when setting the good example doesn't work. What keeps humanity unable to catch these good attributes? And then Meg offers some guesses. The fashion of selfishness, the fashion of capitalism.
Oh dear.
Right? And then Meg has one more question. She says, how to create a fashion of helpfulness.
Well, somebody upstairs would kind of like to appropriate Meg's question and apply it to their own inquiry, and it might be Saul, and it might be that this is what we're supposed to do. So don't take Meg's question away from the bell. But Saul, if it's not Saul, then I'm wrong. Saul is saying that, and so this applies to the assignment to the guardian angelhood, to begin to deliver accumulated karma to the bad tail of the bell curve of karma, to converge on the bad tail of the bell curve of karma, the worst 10%, those who are pulling the engine of destruction the hardest, just the 10% of humanity pulling the engine of destruction the hardest, converge on them and just, basically beat the bejeebies out of them,
exactly.
And to provide learning opportunities to those around them. And so hopefully people stop doing bad things. They start to realize that there are consequences to actions and inactions. And we've known that this is what's worked in other black holes of corruptions, and we've known that for maybe 1.5 years now.
That's right.
And at first it seemed as though possibly what was happening was interdimensional communications were so difficult and so fuzzy that somehow the concept was getting lost in the echoes of the dimensions. And that's realistic for a period of time, but after a while then we have to acknowledge that there must be something that's holding up that process. And so we remember what we learned from watching our Ra piece together Potato, which is a series of choices that takes us from living in an inconvenient reality to living effectively inside of that inconvenient reality. And Ra figured it out from the ending point, Mac. So if we know that what's necessary at this point in order to break the cycles of corruption, I should back it up. If we know that what's necessary at this point to stop the destruction is that we must first break the cycles of corruption, we already know that, then now we must, and if we also know that what's worked in other black holes of corruption to break the cycles of corruption and therefore stop the destruction. That what's worked in other black holes of corruption is for the unused guardian angelhood to converge on the bad tail of the bell curve of karma and deliver accumulations of karma in a cartoonishly obvious fashion to get everybody else to look up, say, oh my goodness, there are higher powers, we are accountable for our actions and inactions, we are accountable for our soul plans, we are accountable for our contracts to spirit. Maybe we should stop doing bad things and make better choices. So we already know that that's what's working. And now to back it up from there, why aren't the guardian angels of this vicinity of space and time, this planet Earth combo pack of ground zero and the related dimensions, why aren't the guardian angels affiliated with planet Earth doing this? And so to back it up to the immediate necessity, and somebody keeps saying what they've been saying for an hour or so, is that they have to see what's in it for them. There has to be some incentive. And that interdimensionally things are more the same than they are different. And if you were to try to get humans to do something, they would probably say, well, what's in it for me? And definitely chickens would say the same. Baxter says the same.
That's
you
right.
know, he wants his treat. So how would we go about that? Is there a carrot and stick approach that could work with the guardian angelhood? And somebody else is saying what usually works is a little bit of embarrassment to get people to engage, and now there's an argument.
Yeah, I hear the arguing.
And somebody else is saying, well, that doesn't work. You have to, basically you'll drive them off if you start doing that. You have to engage them with carrots, with behavioral rewards. And now they're talking about training. It's kind of breaking down into lots of small conversations.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe we ask Meg's question again.
Meg's question begins, how to get across the concepts that we have assignments.
Maybe just pause
Yeah.
right there, because the guardian angels have assignments,
Whoa.
and their supervisors have assignments, and their supervisors have assignments, and so on, and so on, and so on, until we reach this room in higher dimensions of godly presences who are having discussions about how to motivate down the chain of spirit to something that's close enough to reach into ground zero planet Earth. And so the assignments, what are the assignments to those who know that they are responsible for planets inside of black holes of corruption? I see the level of those responsible for planets
I can
inside
see
of
that.
black holes of corruption, and they know it's going to be like a rough road and a kind of like a lot of bucking bronco metaphors, and
Yes.
that's what you have. You have oppositional defiance, and it's just ugly and nasty, but they seem to not mind that. There are people who like working with untrained horses.
Yeah, that is true.
And how wonderful it feels to take an untrained horse and through your efforts create something that is a trained horse.
That's right.
And how rewarding it is. Probably you know something about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. A lot of our clients train untrained horses in our healing practice.
Well, how do they start? That's a good question.
That's a really good question, and I'm going to have to babble it out, and I might have to back up and correct myself. I think the feeling of how they start is normally about helping the horse feel that this is not a frightening job or place or community.
That they're in a good place.
That they are in a good place, and that good things are ahead, and it is not bad. I think that is the general gist of how everybody starts.
All right, so do these guardian angels for planet Earth feel like they're in a good place? I don't think so. I think they feel like they're in a corrupt every person for themselves. I've got to grab and steal before it's done to me.
That's the feeling.
Kind of. Do bad things to others before others do bad things to me. And what do the trainers do when they have a horse come in with that attitude? The bad attitude horses. Many of them euthanize the horses.
Yeah.
They say this is a dangerous horse. It's too big, too dangerous.
That's
I'm not going
right.
to put a rider on this horse.
That's right.
You're out of here.
That's right.
They geld them.
Often they geld them, they castrate them.
To calm them down.
To calm them down. Often if it's a female horse, they will pump her full of drugs.
What kind of drugs? We're not going to go down the path of drugs. That's ridiculous.
That doesn't actually feel like a real solution to a problem.
No. Gelding we could see as a possible solution because it's removing a drug from the equation. It's calming things down.
Taking away a chemical.
Taking away a chemical. Yeah. How do we engage the guardian angelhood? They don't want to engage. Let's try next question again.
How to get across the concepts that we have assignments.
Oh dear.